Hello everyone, this is part 6 of What If Naruto Was Neglected and Was a Genius with Swords, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
An hour of sleep later, Naruto was busy getting dressed again, after having good old-fashioned, all-American fun, when they had a knock coming from it. Naruto goes to said door, wearing his boxes, and opens it, to see Haku and Tayuya waiting outside. Both were staring at the half-naked Jinchuriki, well more like Tayuya was staring in truth, and Haku was just glaring at him. Is it safe to come in ? One would hate to have you guys yell at us for interrupting you. Haku spoke, looking around for Tenten. Suffice to say, she was in her room, still snooshing unsilently. Tayuya goes to check on her, and sees her naked form covered by nothing except the sheet, and a smile on her face. I guess she liked it. So, did you guys hear us ? Asked Naruto, slightly embarrassed. Haku only glared his trademark, what do you think? ? Single quote. Looks, and sits on a chair. I think you should ask if the people in Suna heard you too. And put some clothes on, I can still see it, he said, blinding himself with one hand up his eyes. Tayuya heard him say this, and looks back out, hoping to get a glance, and was too late for he grabbed a pair of ants hanging from outside the room, flinging them on without so much as a single noise. The flute mistress sighed, and shrugged, walking over to her ice artist lover, and sitting on his lap. Haku, do you think we can go see that musician in town ? One heard he knows how to play the flute, asked Tayuya, using the puppy dog eyes no jutsu. Haku was forced to submit, turning his attention towards the bare-chested blonde Chunin in front of him. Naruto, you're coming too, he spoke in a voice that didn't ask, but commanded. And why should I ? He responded in a firm voice that was made for talking back. Haku only smiled. If you don't, then I shall tell your grandma that that noise was coming from you. And I don't think your mother would approve of you having at your age. Naruto got superiorly mad, embarrassed, and fearful all at the same time. He knew his mother had the power to ground him now, and that he could get in even more shit by way of Obachan the Hokage. There truly was only one thing to do. I will do it, but you gotta promise me you don't tell Car-san. Or anyone else for that matter. I'll go wake up Ten-chan. The defeated Chunin walked over towards the room where his sleeping girlfriend was. Ninja weapons shop elsewhere in Konoha. Jiraiya was finally trailing towards the weapon shop in town nearest the hot springs, after spending some time doing research, and enters in. He approaches the main counter. Hello my good man. I am here to find some of your elemental chakra paper. I would like one of each of them. Also bring out one of those experimental papers, you know the one that reacts if a person has more than one chakra element, spoke the toad hermit. The clerk nods, and retrieves said items. After paying for it, and checking the kunoichi gearware, he walks off, thinking about what next. If he's like his father, he should be just as good, maybe even better. His elemental Rasengan should work. And with this in mind, he walks off. The rest of the day went off with a hitch. The group of four enjoyed seeing and hearing the musician play. He was actually quite good. Time after was quietly spent at home, where the quartet had enjoyed spending the night, just being with one another, watching some horror movie. As the movie ended, the four left for their rooms, cuddling with their lovers and spending the night in peace. Outskirts of Konoha. Two people were outside of the village of the leaves, waiting for something it seems. They were wearing black cloaks with red spots on them. Straw hats and rings on their fingers could lead you to believe that they were part of the Akatsuki. One of them took their hat off, to reveal a shark-faced man with blue spiky hair. They looked like they were cooking some soup. Hey Itachi, you think it's ready ? He asked. His teammate took his off, revealing a man with black hair that fell down short. He has lines along the top of his cheekbones, and the most focused eyes you could ever see. He picked up the pot, and poured the soup in 2 bowls, handing one over to his shark friend. After taking a bite, he seems content. Wow, this is actually good. What is it ? He asked. The broody one only took a sip of his. It's an old Uchiha family recipe, shark fin soup, he spoke, sipping some more. Shark Face's eyes got big and buggy, as blue lines fall down behind his right eye, jaw wide open as said soup was dripping from his mouth. What could be heard next was a scream, not loud enough to threaten the people of Konoha, but loud enough to scare off the nearby animals. Morning. Dawn broke at 6 a.m., as the morning sun shined brightly through a certain window. It flashed onto the face of a certain ninja with whiskers on his face, who instantly woke up from it. Normally he would shield his eyes and got back to sleep, but after training with Jiraiya, he has learned to wake up earlier, and stay away from any bars he might have gone to. He rose up slowly, hoping not to disturb his sleeping fiancé, and gets dressed, heading back to Training Grounds 7 for his training. Training Grounds 7. At said arena, Naruto made his way to find his perverted sensei, and finds him waiting for him in the middle of where he fought the Kyuubi in his mind. Ero Sennin. Am I ready to fight yet? One want to crush the Akatsuki and Orochimaru? Said the confident yet unwavering ninja. Jiraiya only nodded yes, as he held out 5 slips of papers. First, before we start, you must find out your element. By putting chakra into these things, only one will react. The one that does something when you put your chakra into it will be your element, he spoke, handing them said paper. Naruto placed them on the ground. Okay, so how do I know which is mine? He asked. If one of them burns, then you can use fire. If one gets soggy, then you got water. If it gets cut in half, then you got wind. If another crumbles, you have earth. If turns to dust, then lightning. Now go on. Naruto then focuses, emitting as much chakra as he can, and what happens is beyond anyone's expectations. Not only did one get cut in half, but another burned to ashes and a third became dust. Jiraiya took a good look at him, and was royally impressed. He has lightning, fire, and wind. That's unheard of. Out of all the ninjas in the world, 83% have one element affinity. 16.5% have two, which usually leads to a bloodline, like Haku's Hyoten, the mixture of wind and water, and Shodime's Makoten, control of water and earth. But only the rarest and most potential shinobi have 3 chakra affinities. I have only heard of 2 others who had the same potential, Arashi, and Madara. Jiraiya was so lost in thought he didn't hear Naruto talking to him. Hey, Ero Sennin, I think the papers are duds. 3 of these things reacted. Shouldn't only 2 or 1 do something? He asked. Naruto looks at the stunned face of his teacher, who finally snapped out of it. Oh sorry, Naruto, they aren't duds. You have a chakra affinity for lightning, fire, and wind, each of which are perfect for combat. Now I have a test for you to go through, take this. Jiraiya hands him a larger piece of paper, with the Carnifer element in the middle. He places it on the ground. Go at it, put as much chakra into it and see what will happen. Naruto does what he says, and places his hand onto it, infusing chakra into the paper. The paper starts to glow, as dark and white flames erupt from the seals. Lightning surrounds the flames, as wind encases it, as it forms into a ball of both elements. The ball then explodes, as the 2 ninjas backed away, to escape the crater being created. After landing, they went into the center. Wow, that was awesome. I guess it's time to teach you. You need to learn how to control all 3 chakra elements. You know the Kage Bunshin, right? Stated Jiraiya. Naruto only had a confused look. Yeah, so what? It's just a Jonin level technique that makes a solid clone. What of it? Naruto spoke to his sensei. The Kage Bunshin can learn something that you weren't around for, and once it gets destroyed you learn what it knew. Naruto nodded, actually listening to him. Sure, a few years ago he would space out, but he seems to have become a bit smarter this time. Naruto, if you make some cloys and have them learn one of your chakra elements, have another group learn the second, and a third do the last, at the end of the day make them disperse and you can gather all the training they have. Let's go. Naruto absorbed the information, then began to create his army of training clones, about 900. He then has 300 to fire chakra, 300 to lightning training, and the other 300, not including himself in the equation, do the wind chakra. They spent the entire day trying to burn, electrocute, and cut walls, paper, and trees with the chakra. With Haku and Tayuya began to wake up, getting themselves ready for the day. Tayuya-chan, Do you feel something wrong? I think so. Where's Naruto and Tenten? She asked, getting her clothes on. He goes into their room, and finds Tenten still asleep. He taps her shoulder, and wakes her up. She stares into Haku's eyes, a bit angry, then realizes that she is holding on to nothing. Where's Naruto? She asked, more like in a command than in a request. We don't know. He was gone before we woke up. Haku replied. Ring. They looked at the doorway, as Tayuya goes to the door. As she opens it, her face falters into fear. Haku gets up to see who it was. Tayu-chan, who is it? I think I have a good clue. He has a missing nin headband, and the Sharingan. He also has a shark-faced friend. Naruto continues his training, and after countless tries, he is finally able to use his lightning chakra. He still needs help using the other two, but it was still good enough. Jiraiya had just returned from whatever he was doing, which I won't mention, and comes upon Naruto. Sagaki, how's it going? He asked his prized pupil. Naruto gave the perverted Sannin a foxy smile. I can use lightning now. I found that I can use it to electrocute my opponents, magnetize myself towards metal, or vice versa, and maybe some more. I can't wait for the others to be ready. He then heads back to training. Jiraiya smiles at this, then continues to watch from afar. But then something happens to him. He feels as though something is wrong, and turns towards his apartment. Jiraiya sees this, and jumps towards him. What's wrong? Gaki? You have to go to the bathroom? He asked, kinda joking in the process. Naruto looks at him in a serious manner. No. I feel Tenten's in trouble. I gotta head back. He disperses the clones, and heads towards his apartment, sword already drawn, running as fast as he can. Jiraiya lifted his eyebrow, and then senses something in the air as well. Back with said friends. The two people at the door looked down at her. The red-eyed one took a closer look at her. We're looking for the Yondaim's legacy. Tayuya froze up at what he said, then thinks about what he meant. That's when something in her told her that they meant Naruto. She shook her head. I'm sorry, you have the wrong room. She then closes the door slowly, and locks it even faster though. She then runs back to the others, who just came out to join her. Haku had his sword sheathed, and Tenten had her scroll. What happened? Asked Tenten. We better get out of here, was all she could muster up. That's when the door flew open, as the two stepped in again. Itachi, I think I've seen that girl before. She was with him before, stated the blue one. Itachi took a closer look at Tenten. You know where he is. And if not, you will bring him to us, was all he could say, till he unshinkered his cloak, to reveal his face. Kisame, you take those two. They would be a waste to me. Kisame then draws his sword, as the cloth unravels to reveal a blue furry sword. He then swung it really fast, but Haku blocked it with his now unsheathed sword. They flashed through the window, breaking it as well. Tayuya was about to join Tenten in a fight against Itachi, but she held a hand up to her face. Go help Haku. Naruto should be back soon. I'm not sure, but I can tell if he's in danger, as he can when I am. Just go. Tayuya nods, and grabs her kusarigama. She then jumps out the window to join Haku. Tenten unveiled her scroll, and pulled out a nodaki from it. It had a complete golden hilt with silver lining on it. It had a silver manji as the guard, and a sleek golden blade, with the sharp end as silver though. You plan to challenge me, with only a sword and scroll full of them? Pondered Itachi. They both then flashed out the room, heading out the window just 2 miles away from the building. Haku and Tayuya. Haku, Tayuya, and Kisame both landed in a secluded area near the forest, right by a lake. Haku then jumped forward, landing a quick slash at his face. Kisame blocks with his sword, and it stops it. The shark man then moves his blade, scratching Haku's face in the process. Tayuya swung her scythe towards Kisame, hoping to slice his head off. He only ducked at the sight, and did a few quick hand signs. Suten, Sukuden no Jutsu. He yelled out his jutsu, as a shark-like thing appeared out the water, heading over to Haku after the user jumped out of the way. As it headed over to him, Haku did some hand signs of his own. Hyoten, Hayumaku. Haku did his technique, as an ice tiger came out from Haku's mouth, and attacked the shark. They both collided and destroyed one another. Haku then did some more seals. It's time. Hyoten, Shinkuasuhyaran no Jutsu. He holds his arms out, as a red ring of ice surrounds the entire area. It then shrinks down, and surrounds Haku. Lotus flowers then emerge from the rings, and encase Haku in ice, creating a large glacier. What? Are you forfeiting already? Wondered the shark Akatsuki member, about to crack the ice with his blade. Then it broke on its own, as Haku emerged from the ice, wearing it seems. He now has icy red wings on his back, with a tail as well. There is also a dragon claw on his left arm. Kisame looks upon Haku, smirking a bit. Oh good, I thought this would be boring. Suten, Sukuden no Jutsu. He yelled the last part, as he makes his last jutsu, and attacks Haku with it. Haku only sung his ice-encased sword, and the shark froze instantly. After one touch of the shark, he destroys it, turning it into multiple spikes. Haijutsu, Sensato Susho. He shoots all the needles towards Kisame, who only held his sword out and blocked them all. Tayuya throws her kusarigama, and grabs firm hold of Samedo, after the icicle ult. She then does some hand seals, bites her finger, and slams it on the ground. Kuchio's no Jutsu. She then appears on top of a cloud of smoke, and standing on a large snake. This snake seems to be brown, with a crimson mane. She then pulls out a flute and plays it. Tayuya-san, you ready? The snake spoke. Yup. Konbi henge, hebi buki dankatsu. She yelled out the technique, as another cloud of smoke envelops them. As it clears, the snake that Tayuya was standing on has transformed into a bone-like snake. She seems to be holding the snake's tail in place of the kusarigama. In fact, it disappeared in its place. Kisame looked at the two of them, smirking in anticipation. I'm gonna enjoy this, he said. Haku then charged forward, as Tayuya swung her snake weapon, as the snake head flew over to Kisame. Tenten and Itachi. Itachi was, unlike Kisame, bored. Tenten had been using lightning-based jutsus all the fight, but it seemed futile. Itachi then does some hand signs. Kaiten, Kuryu Enden. Itachi then shoots a fire dragon from his mouth, aiming for the bushy mistress. She only summoned as muhc chakra as she could, and did some hand signs. Raiten, Rairu Enden no Jutsu. The attacks collided with each other, creating a huge explosion. Itachi rushed in, throwing 2 punches to her gut. She fell to the floor, gripping her stomach. As Itachi stepped back for another technique, she summoned as much chakra as she could for now, then struck the ground. Raiten, Dorusen. It released a lightning fissure towards Itachi, who saw it coming and jumped up. After landing, he kicks Tent in the face, knocking her back a few. She began to rise up, spitting blood onto the floor. You seem stronger than most people. I guess against you I don't need to hold back. Witness the strongest genjutsu known to man, he says as he closes his eyes. Tenten doesn't know what he means, so she charges in before he could initiate a jutsu. But before she could do anything, he opened his eyes. The Sharingan wheel now looks shuriken-like. But before she could look him in the eye, a huge force of chakra could be felt nearby. You leave Ten-chan alone, was what a voice said, jumping into the fray. What is revealed is Naruto, his eyes bloodshot and dead. He stared at Itachi with rage consuming him. Itachi didn't lose his face, but he did seem a bit surprised. After looking at Naruto, he could tell his chakra seemed a bit different than both the demon's and his own. Uzumaki Naruto. It's nice to see you again. He spoke, stepping towards him. Naruto lifted his eyebrow. We met before ? Valley of Death, after you off my brother. I left you to live, after watching you fight him, and was rather amused to watch you too. It seems Orochimaru was up to his old tricks again. He then stares into his eyes. But the first part of the Mangekyo Sharingan didn't work on him, as his eyes were like repelling them. So, you must have absorbed him then. Which means you need to be extracted back at the hideout by leader. Like hell I will. Naruto then summoned chakra into his finger, swirling it with his mind. Time for you to join your brother. Raisenhu. He then shoots the chakra in his finger at him, as it becomes a large swirling wind, about to tear him to pieces. Itachi sighed. Amaterasu. He shouted his bloodline ability, and shot a black flame towards the wind, colliding with it, and stopping T. Naruto rushed in, gripping his body and connecting his face with Itachi's. As they stared into each other's eyes, Naruto moved him from facing Tenten. Itachi, I know full well about your Tsukiyomi. I also know that you can't use it without eye contact. So if you wish to take me alive, you will spare my fiancé and take me out with it. Naruto stated, staring into his eyes. Itachi slowly made a grin on his face, one that hasn't been made in a while. You are smarter than you look. You know that if I use it on you, your friend can take me out afterwards, as it drains my power and I wouldn't be able to fight for long. But even so, you still insist me using it on you and not her. So be it, Itachi stated. Naruto then could feel himself getting transported somewhere else, feeling his soul leave his body. Tsukiyomi. The next few paragraphs are gonna be so painful, you might not want to read. So for all those who don't wish to see, look for the next line going across. Naruto opened his eyes, and finds himself not in the place he last was fighting Itachi. No, he was in a place far worse than hell. He found himself in a deep and dark dungeon, tied to a cross facing the ceiling, and not even clothed. He looked around, and saw his friends looking at him, Haku, Tayuya, Jiraiya, Shizune, Tsunade, even Neji, Lee and Kakashi and Sakura. They all were looking at him, smiling and laughing at his humiliation, saying things he would normally hear from the villages, and hasn't heard ever since he became a genin. Look at the demon. What a fool. Off the fox bastard. These were just some of the things he heard that tore into him. Then he saw something he never wanted to see. The forms of all his friends disappeared in front of him, melding into Itachi. Naruto, your torment hasn't ended yet. No, you will now receive punishment by the one you care for the most, without so much as speaking to her. He then flicks his wrist, and his mouth opening closes up. Naruto kept trying to speak out of it, but all attempts proved useless. That's when he saw someone he never wanted to see in this situation. The girl he loved more than himself, Amon Tenten. Naruto team, it's time I show you how I really feel about you, you fucking demon. She said with a snarl. She pulls out a whip. It has some yellowish-white picks on the end, as Naruto was risen up from his platform by the ropes tying his arms together, until he hung in the air like a worm on a hook. I'm gonna enjoy this slowly, for 24 hours, she said, smiling evilly. She then swings the whip, slashing his stomach. He moaned out from the pain, but it couldn't come out as loud from the fact that he didn't have a mouth. The whip rose into the air again, as blood leaked from both the pick and his flesh. She slammed it down again, this time ripping off more of his skin in a long line. She went to his back, and whipped behind there, tearing into his body until you could see his bones. Naruto could feel himself pee out, and did, letting the pain go through him, but she then whips his face, leaving a major scar on his face, even peeling off his face. Tenten then pulled off his boxes. And to think, I fell in love with you. I would never love a demon like you, and I never will. You can go marry a demon bitch in hell. She then takes off the ring she received from him, and throws it at his face, eternally scarring his soul. Naruto could feel tears coming down his face, as he watched his only hope of happiness slip from him. She then swung the whip, tearing at his personal member, and his two friends. Naruto could feel himself in immense pain, but all this was nothing compared to what she said and did outside of the use of a whip. He woke up again, and finds himself still in the Smee situation, only his wounds have healed. Tenten was in front of him, with Haku and Tayuya, and a pot of bubbling liquid. 23 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds. That much time until you can leave, spoke Tenten, as the others laugh. Itachi comes up from behind them. Pour it, was all he said, until they splashed the pot of liquid onto him, as it burned into his skin, revealing it to be acid. They all laughed maniacally some more, each one brandishing a weapon. It may have been 6 seconds to him, but it felt like a lifetime of torture to him. His breathing became so shallow, you couldn't sense any life in it. Naruto plopped onto the ground, sweat pouring out from his face like bullets. Damn, he was right, I used too much on that girl. Gotta get Kisame, Itachi tells himself, grabbing Naruto. Tenten grabs her sword, and tries to rise. You better let him go now, she threatened, about to run for him. In an instant, Itachi threw a kunai at her. She dodged it, but didn't see the second one he threw, which impaled her ankle. She crimped onto the ground, trying to rise again. No, get back here. I won't let you take my fiancé away, she yelled again, trying to rise. Itachi was about to run off, when he felt something wrong. Where's this bloodlust coming from? He asked no one. Why don't you look in your arms, human? The voice came from in his hands, as Naruto was staring at him, with red eyes and dead pupils. Slash. It happened in an instant. It was so fast the Uchiha couldn't block or dodge it in time. He backed away from the demon-possessed boy, holding onto the large fracture that was on top of his flesh. Naruto rose up, licking the blood from the drawn Kuroigetsuga, fangs shining into the sky. You really do suck at this, Naruto. You didn't realize that demon eyes could block out the Tsukuyomi, and suffered from the torments of your friends and loved one. Kyuubi roared, swinging the sword by the chain. Well, guess what? It's my turn for you to watch me fight, and me to off and slaughter. As he laughed maniacally, Tenten was watching from her post, trying to both get closer to the one she loved, and stay away from the bloodthirsty demon who seems to hate her so much. Naruto, please no. Kyuubi lunged towards Itachi, raining down multiple stabs at him. Itachi could barely dodge them, as each one aimed for his face, and pulled out a kunai, slashing at him 2 times, the second one making contact with his skin. Blood flies out, but the wound heals just as fast as it appeared. Kyuubi flung back a few meters, then lunged forward, left hand thrusting outward. Let's see you dodge this. Kaiten, Kuryu Enden no Jutsu. He fires a dragon flame attack towards him. As Kyuubi jumps into the move, an explosion covers him up. As Itachi looks further in, he spots something unpleasant. A wave of red and black colors was heading towards him, fracturing the ground in front of it. At the last second, mostly because he still needed to charge up what was left of his chakra, he jumps out of the way. The smoke clears as Kyuubi is revealed with a red furry arm with claws. Itachi does some more hand seals. Kaiten, Gokakyu no Jutsu. He fires his immense comet at Kyuubi, who just breathed in deeply, and shouted really loud, evaporating the ball into dust. The Sharingan user could only watch, as one of his most powerful fire attacks fell useless. He couldn't move anymore for he was out of chakra now, whatever he had before was used up in that last move. He pulls out a pill, to use for regenerating his chakra, but a hand gripped his neck, lifting him up into the air. The hand belonged to Kyuubi, as he looked at Itachi's dreadful eyes, and sees fear in them. The pill fell to the floor, and was crushed by the demon fox's foot. Before I off you, answer me this, where is your organization HQ? He asked in a voice that demanded his cooperation without fail. Itachi could only shake his head no. Off me. Let me join my family in hell and end my suffering. He told him, in a tone that demanded just like most of the times he talked. Kyuubi gave him a snarling laugh. Like hell I will. I'll first make you suffer, then rip your precious eyes out, and then you will beg even more for me to off you. He increases the grip on Itachi, as blood came coughing out. This continued until he fell unconscious. Kyuubi threw him into a tree, blood appearing behind it as he slid off it. As Kyuubi walked over to it, something unexpected stopped him, Tenten. She had a hand onto his shoulder, keeping him from moving any further. The demon fox charged up as much demon chakra as he could for now, and turned to face the bushy mistress. You wish to die so soon? Fine, so be it. Kyuubi stated, as he raised his sword up to swing it down. She did another unexpected thing, hugging him. She dug her face deep inside his chest, keeping him from slashing her. The red chakra then started to consume her, as she felt herself transport to another place. Inside Naruto's mind, Tenten opens her eyes, and finds herself in another place. It is a deep and dark room, where the only light you could see was from a light bulb from above. But she wasn't paying attention to any of those things. No, her eyes, mind, and heart were all focused on the crying boy in front of her. He was completely nude, as she could spot out torn pieces of cloth on the ground in front of him. She also sees blonde hair smack dab on the boy's head, multiple scars all over his body, and blue eyes that seemed to have felt a world of hurt and pain beyond all things imaginable. She knew who the bloody boy was before she even looked at him. Oh my sweet Naru-kun. Who did this to you? She cried, running towards him. He saw her and digged himself even deeper into the corner. She saw this and stopped her progress. I loved you. And you did this to me. Why, you never cared for me, only used me for your evil pleasures. Keep away from me. He yelled the last part out, crying a flood of tears. Tenten didn't know what happened to him, then it hit her. She remembered something Tsunade told her about concerning the Mangekyo Sharingan. Flashback no Jutsu. What do you know about the Sharingan, Tenten ? The Hokage asked Tenten. Well, I only know that it is one of the most famous bloodlines in the Land of Fire. It can copy and watch an opponent's movements as if they were in slow motion. She replied proudly, as if she was a doujutsu expert. Yes, well there is another form of it. It's called the Mangekyo Sharingan, Kaleidoscope Copy Wheel Eye. It can only be achieved through immense guilt on the user's conscience, like if said person offed someone they cared deeply for. Itachi is the only living Uchiha living now who can use it, since he offed them all. She spoke, causing Tenten to gasp, thinking of how far Itachi went for such power. It gives the user two more abilities, Amaterasu and Tsukiyomi. Amaterasu allows him to release a dark-colored flame that can burn things a normal Kaiten jutsu couldn't. The second, and most dangerous of all genjutsus, is the Tsukiyomi. With one look in his eyes, he can transport your soul into a world where he controls. There he will torture you in ways he deems great enough to cause you the most pain, whether physically or mentally, and it leaves the victim with so much mental damage that they could die without the most extensive medical attention. I am just giving you a heads up if you ever take it upon yourself to try and take on Itachi. She states, looking at her from her desk. Tenten nods, then grabs the file for her mission. End flashback. Tenten could feel herself exploding in tears. You let him use that on you, and he did something horrible, and it must have involved me. She falls to her knees, tears plopping onto the floor. Naruto still didn't come out, and stayed in. She crawled over to him, and hugged him as tightly as possible, regardless of how much he thrashed about. Leave me be. I don't want to feel you give me pain anymore. I just want it all to end, he began, but was stopped, by a pair of lips touching his. His eyes trailed into confusion, and stared at her. She still loves me ? But why ? He thought, still out of whack for the girl who had just gave him the worst pain he could ever feel, a broken heart. She kissed him with love. Tenten released herself. I would never hurt you, seriously. I love you more than my life's dream to become a great kunoichi like Tsunade-sama. I wouldn't even lift a senbon needle if my opponent would be you. You suffered a genjutsu, the Tsukiyomi. I don't know what he might have done to you during then, but I apologize with all my heart. I love you. She shouted the last part, giving him a kiss again. This time he didn't squirm, but slowly placed his arms around her, as tears of joy flooded down both their faces. The tears merged together, then dripped onto the floor. A light shined brightly from the tears, as they were both enveloped in it. Back in real world. Die! Kyubi roared, swinging his sword in order to try and off her, but something in him stopped. He held his face in pain, as Tenten opened her eyes, and backed away. You again. I thought Tsukiyomi took care of you. Get back. I am in control now. He yelled at nothing, but it was futile. The red chakra turned into blue, as it exploded. The Kyubi roared in defeat, as his hand reverted to a human arm. Naruto fell to his knees, trying to breathe in the air. He then sets his gaze upon Tenten, who was smiling at him. You came back, Naru-kun, she said in a soft voice. He smiled back at her, but fell to the ground, unconscious. She saw this, and tried to run to him, but couldn't. Then an arm grabbed him, and held him onto his shoulders. They were both attached to Jiraiya, who had made it in time. Finally, I made it. So what happened here ? He asked the only other person around. She limped herself up, and explained everything to him. Haku and Tayuya. The two lovers were having more than their share of fun and pain with Kisame. Not only was the samurai of the mist powerful, but he seems to have an immense reserve of chakra. Haku was still in his Shinkuasu Hyoran form, and Tayuya was still carrying the bone dragon whip, but both still had problems taking down this missing ninja. Man, I never thought I had to exert myself so much in order to keep up with you freaks. But it's time we finish this. I have a demon to collect. Kisame spoke, tired from fighting two easily Jonin-leveled ninjas. Haku used the body flicker technique to get in front of him, aiming another slash at him. He dodges and scrapes his face and right shoulder with his sword. Haku held onto his face as the blood came running down his face. Haku-chan. Damn you to hell. You will pay for hurting him. Tayuya swung her whip, forcing her living weapon to move to him in an attack. Kisame only swung his sword once, smacking it in the face, to knock it back. She gasped at the way it suddenly was crushed away. Kisame then did the body flicker technique himself, appearing in front of her. Pulling out a kunai, he stabbed her shoulder, though it was supposed to be in her heart but she dodged. Tayuya fell to the ground coughing up blood, then threw some kunai at him, in which he flashed out of sight and range. That thing's pretty fast considering its size, but you still suck. I will crush you and your gay boyfriend, he said, laughing in a mock tone. I can assure you I ain't gay, nor a transvestite. But I will surely freeze you to your core. Haku spoke, flying towards him with all the speed he could muster. Kisame did some hand seals. Suten, Gosukyu no Jutsu. He spat a huge ball of water towards Haku, who stabbed it, freezing it on contact. He then touches it, and does some hand seals. Haijutsu, Sensato Susho. The ball turns into 1,000 water needles, and shoot towards Kisame. He only spun his sword, deflecting them all. He didn't notice Tayuya getting up, and swinging another attack towards him. Kisame couldn't react in time, and just stuck his sword out, keeping it from eating him. He was being pushed back into the air, still keeping the dragon at bay. It's time, she says, invoking as much chakra she could spare, thanks to the curse mark activating and spreading through her body. Snap! The sword broke to pieces, as the dragon put too much pressure into chomping it, and it finally gave way. Kisame got out of the way fast enough to avoid a fatal blow, but still got his left arm ripped off him. He was still in the air, blood gushing from his now gone arm freely. He couldn't do anything anymore. Ryuzenka. Haku yelled his jutsu, as an icy wind surrounded him, as he flew into the sky, and stabbed Kisame right in the center of his chest. Ice emerged from the wound, freezing everything within miles of the sky, taking the form of a giant lotus flower. Haku flew out of the way, as if he knows what's gonna happen next. Haikotsu Taiho. Tayuya yelled, swinging her bone dragon whip to fly into the sky. In between the bones chakra emitted from them, as the dragon opened its mouth, releasing a large blast of light red and brown energy towards the frosted flower. Upon contact, it created a huge explosion, leaving nothing left afterwards. The dragon then turned into smoke, as her kusarigama came back to normal. It fell to the ground, in more than one pieces. Haku was still in the air, as his ice melted. As the last piece fell off of him, blood gushed from the parts they were attached to. Haku fell to the ground, but Tayuya jumped in the way to save him from breaking his neck. Haku, she yelled, lifting the boy onto her shoulders. She then proceeds to look for Tenten, going over to that previous chakra spike from before in hopes that it came from her. Naruto and Tenten, and Jiraiya. Jiraiya placed Naruto onto a stretch of GR, as Tenten sat next to him, his head in her laps. That's when they feel a large chakra spike heading towards them. In a swirl of leaves and dust appeared Tsunade. What happened here? She asked, staring at Jiraiya and Tenten. That's when she noticed Naruto in her lap, and Itachi wrapped up in front of him. Naruto, and Itachi. Just what the hell happened here? Demanded the Gondime, rushing over to him. Tsukiyomi attack. Naruto suffered it, then Kyuubi took over and did this to him, spoke the Toad Hermit, pointing to Itachi. Tsunade flinched at the sound of the demon's name. But I thought the fusion would keep Naruto in complete control, even if under a genjutsu. She announced, looking at her grandson. Well, yes, and no. It only works on the simplest of genjutsu. But the Tsukiyomi was too strong for him, and it must have made him weak enough for the Kyuubi to take over. Stated Jiraiya, looking down at his prized pupil. But let's take him back to the hospital. Once he wakes up we can continue with his wind and fire training. Wind and fire? Asked both Tsunade and Tenten, looking at the two men. Jiraiya nodded. Naruto has a chakra affinity for wind, fire and lightning, just like his father. He tells the two, picking up the boy. Tsunade looked as if she was gonna say something, but was interrupted by a voice. I never would have guessed that Naruto had so much potential. Makes me wonder if he could beat Haku and me again. Tayuya said, coming out of the bushes with an unconscious Haku. Naruto begins to open his eyes, looking at the white ceiling of the hospital. He looks around, and finds no one around, but that changes when he spots Tenten on him, under the sheets he was sleeping in. He shifts himself a bit, forcing her to wake up. She looks at the bright eyes of her fiancé, and leaps up to kiss him. Oh Naruto, you need to stop scaring me like that. The things you do are not suited for a chunin, she said, tears leaking from her eyes. He looked at her, with love, concern, and a little bit of fear for her. He could still feel the after effects of the goddess of the moon world technique, and was rather afraid that she might do something he knows she would never do. Well, I'm sorry. Where are the others? He asked, sniffing the air to see if anyone was still here. Tsunade-sama is in her office, probably trying to off the paperwork. Jiraiya is somewhere doing what he always do. Haku got badly injured from a move he did on Kisame, and the after effect left him still in bed. She told him. Haku, is he awake? One want to tell him of our engagement, he said, lifting her off of him. He then gets up, and grabs his clothes, changing and getting ready to leave. She changed as well, and followed with him to see Haku. Do you really need to tell him about us? She asked, a bit worried that it might be too soon to let them know. Don't worry, I want them to know. Haku is after all the best man. I would want to see this Anko lady as well, to know who will be having our kids, and to see your mother-in-law. She has to know as well. Naruto says. They made their way to Haku's room. Well, you may be surprised, she says, as Naruto opens the door. They see Haku on the bed, Tayuya in a chair by his side, Tsunade right next to a window, with Jiraiya there as well. Kakashi was with them too with Anko. Naruto looked at the cast that was there, and lifted his eyebrow. What's up guys? He asked. They only chuckled, as Tsunade ran to him, pulling him in with a bear hug. Oh you lucky idiot, you proposed without telling your Bar-chan. Is that some way to treat family? She yelled happily, crushing his lungs. Can't breathe, he whispered, getting her to release him. Oh sorry. Anyway, how long were you gonna keep us in the dark? She asked, smiling down at him. Well, when I got to your office, which I thought Ten-chan told me where you were, he said, glancing at her. Sorry about not telling you guys. Wait. When did you get back? Kakashi? He just now noticed his former sensei was there. Naruto, you have been out for 2 days. We came back from our mission already yesterday. But I must say it does take a lot of balls to propose at such a young age, the Sharingan user said, chuckling a bit. Naruto could feel a blush forming around his face, looking somewhere else. His gaze fell onto the woman he gained a memory of. Hey, you're that woman who did the second part of the Chunin exams. Why are you here? He woeded, seeing that she had no relation to them. Oh, I think it would be appropriate for you to learn the name of the woman who would bear the children of your children, she stated like it was the most obvious fact in the world. Naruto freaked out a bit. You're Mitarashi Anko? Ten-chan, how come you couldn't choose someone who isn't older than me by twice my age? He asked his fiancée, still freaked a bit. I'm sorry, but she's the only one I could trust. Besides, I didn't think you would mind, she tells him, smiling innocently. Naruto hung his head. So where is Okasan? He asked, looking around. The door closed slowly, as he turned around to see who did it, and gasped. Hi mom. Naruto stayed in place, staring at the woman who brought him into this world. Shizune walked over to him, closing her eyes and embracing him into a hug. You're just like your father. He would be so proud of you, marrying someone who truly does love you for who you are, and not what you can do or what's inside of you. She begins to open them, staring at the still white-haired ninja. Said ninja only smiled, glad that his mother approves. Thank you for approving of Tenten. You don't know how much this means to me, Ka-san. He cried in her chest. This set Kakashi off a bit, staring blankly at them. That's his mother? He asked, and everyone nodded as if it was the most obviously damn thing in the world. The Cyclops Jonin sighed, thinking more about his teacher Yondaime. Naruto rose up from the hug, smiling at the people around him, who returned a smile as well. He then looked at his former sensei. Kakashi, I wish for a match against you, he requested, making him look directly at him in a smile. 3 years ago he wouldn't be much of a challenge, but looking at him now he knows how powerful he has become, but is unaware of the events that have happened while he was gone. Sure. Is there a reason why? He asked, before walking towards him. Naruto grinned slightly. It is always one of a shinobi's dream to usurp any of his senseis. Besides, if I can't beat you alone, I won't stand a chance against Orochimaru or the Akatsuki. Kakashi lowers his hand to pat his head, which wasn't that far done. Okay, Naruto. I'll take you up on your offer. Meet me at your old training grounds, he said, then leaps out the window. Tsunade only sighed, heading out the door. Don't get beaten, Ototo, she said, leaving for elsewhere. Haku sighed, staring at his best friend. Hey Naruto, before you go, can you give me a hint on who your best man will be? He asked, already having a good idea. Duh. It's the only guy the first know who looks like a girl. But anyway, there won't be a wedding for another 4 months. And right now, I have some old guy to beat up. He yells, jumping out the window to head for his old training grounds. Tenten smiled. Sometimes I wonder why that Barker wants to get hurt all the time. She wondered, heading out to follow him. Shizune looked at Haku and Tayuya, and scoped for Jiraiya, who had already left without anyone knowing. Okay, Haku, you seem to check out good, but you'll need another day's rest for you to recover fully. We don't want you to strain yourself and get cut to ribbons. Haku sighed, staring out the window to look at the training arena, but alas, he couldn't see it from here. Tayuya rose up, and jumped out the window. I'll be back, Haku, after Naruto-kun's fight with that hole. She jumps out the window, leaving Haku alone, even Shizune and Anko left to watch the fight. I should have bribed her with. That always works on Taiyu-chan, he thought, and creates a crystal ice mirror to watch the fight through. Training Grounds 7. Naruto had made it there, staring at the figure of his former sensei in front of him. So, you ready, Kakashi? By the time I'm done with you, you'll go back to calling me Kakashi-sensei. He put his orange book in his pocket, and lifted his headband to reveal the Sharingan eye. What, you ain't gonna read in front of me like last time? Naruto pondered, seeing as how he didn't even pay attention to them when the bell test was done. No, I think I'll take you seriously this time and actually try to hurt you. Begin. He said the last part out loud, as they both charged in, Kakashi drawing a kunai and Naruto unsheathing Kuroi Getsuga. They clashed, neither able to push the other back, until one decided to flash away. Kakashi could watch the movements of Naruto's high speed, and found him coming up from behind. Kakashi blocked again, then lifts him up and throws him into the air, doing some quick hand signs. Kaiten, Gokakyu no Jutsu. He held his hand to his mouth, and released a fireball. It hit him, as he puffed into smoke. That wasn't him, Kage Bunshin. He wouldn't get hit like that so easily, so where? He looked around, and found the black cloaked ninja in front of him, sword ready to impale him. Releasing as much chakra at once, Kakashi redirected the attack to miss and hit the ground, creating a crater under it. The red-eyed Jonin flew back a bit, landing on his knees. Get up on your feet. We haven't even begun, stated Naruto proudly, as if he had the upper hand. Kakashi used the body flicker technique and appeared in front of him with 2 kunais in both hands. Naruto only turned his sword 2 times to block both stabs, the ground breaking up as the last one collided. Then they both disappeared again. In the sidelines, Shizune, Tayuya, Tenten, and Anko were watching the whole fight, amazed that Naruto could keep up with him, and didn't even use a single jutsu save the Kagebunshin, and he only made one. This is getting good. Naruto-kun has really grown, but you would know more about that, right? Tenten? Shizune spoke, looking at her future daughter-in-law. Tenten began to blush, looking away, leaving Tayuya to laugh. Well, I don't think I should tell you. I mean, it would seem awkward to talk about me having with your son, although I should say that he has terribly amazing stamina, the kind to last for days. She whispered the last part to herself, but only Anko heard it, and got a major nosebleed. I'll be the judge of that, whispered Anko, blood still coming out her nose. So he did come back, huh? A voice said, and they all turned around. There was Kiba, Sakura, Hinata, Shino, Lee, Neji, Guy, and Kurenai. Yup. He returned a few days ago. Right now he's fighting Kakashi, on even terms. Isn't he great? Tenten spoke, looking back towards the fight. The rookie 9 all looked at the fight, watching the fight unfold. It seemed that Kurenai had her mind on other things though, as she kept looking into another direction. Naruto appeared in Vision's sight, unaware of where Kakashi was at. In truth though he was behind him, about to lung a punch. Naruto grew a smirk. I can see through your movements. He spoke confidently, disappearing from sight and coming up miles away from him. The Jonin looked closely at him, then noticed chakra emitting from his sword, or rather the hilt. Your sword, it has a seal on it doesn't it? He suggested, making Naruto chuckle. You're the first to notice. Kuroi Get Sugar does have a seal on it, but it's no ordinary formula, but the one Yondaime used on his special kunai in the Great Shinobi War, you know the one that gave him the name, Yellow Flash. Kakashi's eyes lifted in shock, as did all the other Jonin, including Shizune. Wait, you don't mean? Yup, the secret formula for the Flying Thunder God technique, Hiraishin no Jutsu. He spoke, spinning the sword by the broken chain on it, and jumping into a high tree. It was hidden by Jiraiya after he died because of the QB attack, but in the end he taught me it. He even taught me a way to make it into a new enhanced style, but that's another story for another time, let's just fight. He announced, catching the blade's hilt with his right hand. So, no wonder you were too fast. I guess it's time to finish you off for good. Kakashi stated, leaping into the air, doing some familiar hand signs. But he didn't initiate a jutsu yet, as Naruto leaped down to him, delivering a vertical slash to him. Kakashi drew a kunai, and with his right hand he blocked the blow, as they paired each other. Then lightning started to emerge from his hand, as he headed for a tree. Reikiri, he shouted, then used the body flicker technique to flash behind Naruto, knowing he couldn't dodge this time since he was still heading towards a tree. Naruto landed on a branch, but didn't try to run, instead he turned around, turning his sword horizontally to block the blow. There was a huge shockwave of aura exploding from him, as the surrounding area was blown away. This was bad for Naruto, for he used a metal weapon against a lightning-based attack, and this shocked his body violently, as he was blown away by the attack, crashing into a crater. Kakashi's original jutsu stopped flashing, as he jumped down to meet him, still rising from the crater. Naruto, you seem to have changed a lot. You were always someone who had so much potential, but not enough attention span or instincts to do it in. You continue to fight with your brain, and use logic to fight your enemies. And it's like trying to cut them with a sheathed sword. Kakashi lectured, bringing Naruto to think of something Kyuubi once told him. Instincts. I almost forgot. Let's see if my training has paid off. He thought, flashing a few steps away and stabbing his black sword into the ground. He then lifted off his sandals, wearing them on his hands. My instincts are telling me that I can block your lightning blade technique this time. He announced, holding his hands up in a block. Kakashi shook his head, and takes him up on that challenge. Reikiri can pierce through any force in a CL lower than its own. You will never be able to stop me with just some sandals. He does the Reikiri jutsu again, then runs after Naruto, who only held his ground. Shizune looked at him, and immediately knew what he was trying to do. Arashi-kun, he is just like you in more ways than one. She thought, reminiscing about the first time she met him. Flashback no jutsu. Shizune was walking through the village hidden in the leaves, skipping and cheery. She was holding a bag of flowers, heading over to find Dan. She figures he would be at the training grounds practicing, and goes over there. What she does find is someone else. He was wearing a green shirt, orange pants with a kunai pouch, and the traditional ninja sandals. He also had golden spiky hair and blue eyes, and she seemed to be captivated by them. He looked to be about 2 years older than him, and was holding his hands out in a blocking stance. She stepped on a twig, and caught his attention. Who's there? He asked. It didn't take long for his answer to pop up, in the form of a girl in dark green hair. She was wearing a Japanese kimono with green and purple spots on, and dark brown eyes. She was looking at the boy, blushing quite profoundly. Gomen, I was just looking for someone I know. His name is Dan, have you seen him? She asked, and he shook his head no. I haven't. Hey, you must be a shinobi, right? She nodded twice. I'm just a medic. Being 18, a girl, and a ninja really brings attention to one, doesn't it? he laughs, seeing as how true she was. Well, I've been a jonin for about 4 years, and it hasn't been easy for me. I'm kinda busy working on this jutsu, but if you want to watch, then sit back and watch me go. He begins to hold his hand out, swirling his chakra in it to form a blue ball of energy. He then throws it high into the air, directly above from him. He then holds his hands up together, one behind the other, and emits chakra into it. As soon as the ball hit him, it didn't push him down, but exploded on contact. And out from the smoke he came out unharmed. That was a Mashingung, Jonin-san. What were they called? She asked, clapping her hands. He notices the applause, and blushes slightly. He then walks over to her, noticing the blush on her face as well. Well, those were original moves I made. One was called the spiraling sphere, and that last one was the chakra defense palm. I've been working on another project as well, and I must say that it is something I enjoy using once I'm done. He told her, as she just stared at him. Oh wow, you must be a great candidate for the next Hokage if you got jutsus like that. She said, just noticing the red on his face, and grew brighter herself. Well, I hope I do. Anyway, he gets interrupted by an Anbu ninja appearing in front of him. Hello, I wish to be informed as to why you have decided to approach me while I master my techniques. That means why are you here? You have been summoned by the Hokage, was all he said, then he nods, and walks towards the Black Op. Marty, Shizune said, breaking the tension in the place, and forcing Arashi to turn towards her. Yes? I wish to know your name before you leave, and when I can see you again. She asked, knowing that this might be another battle he could be going into. We can meet up at your place. I don't know when I'll be back, so would you mind giving me directions to your place? He gave her a smile, as she flustered red, and tried to look for something to write with and on. The Jonin sighed, then gives her a kunai and a piece of bark to write on. As she finishes, he takes it, looks it over, and nods. My name is Uzumaki Arashi. I'll see you later. And with that, they disappear, leaving Shizune to frolic for her brother. I wonder what Dan is up to. I'll bet he'll flip once he hears I met someone nice. End flashback. A yell brought Shizune out of her thoughts. She looks at the sight in front of her, as Naruto had held back Kakashi's attack, and hadn't moved an inch. What the ? This technique has only been used by Arashi. I guess Jiraiya has taught you to be more like your father than you are. Kakashi stated, looking at Naruto's hands as the sandals turned to dust before his Reikiri, revealing a swirl of chakra holding it back, and short-circuiting the jutsu. The lightning blade disappeared, then Naruto raised his backhand, the one that was behind the first, clenched a fist, and landed a punch square in Kakashi's face. The Sharingan wielder flew back a coupe of miles, flattening only one tree in the process, because he crashed into a second one and was stuck there. I can't believe it. He successfully used one of Arashi Sensei's jutsus with ease, and used the remaining chakra to deliver a punch into his face. Inventive and smart. Kakashi rises up from the rubble, doing some hand seals, and the entire land started to shake and rumble. After the shaking had ceased, pillars of earth rose up from the ground, then swirled together and attacked Naruto. They then made Naruto's vision go blind, as he couldn't see anything. An illusion. He's focusing on my major weakest technique. He knew that I sucked at genjutsu because of my poor chakra control. Well, thanks to Jiraiya I can now dispel them. Kuchio's, Doton, Choiga no Jutsu. Naruto heard this coming from in front of him. Naruto then holds a tiger seal, and releases chakra to dispel the illusion. As it goes away, he sees everything now, as burrows are seen heading towards him. Naruto grabs his sword, and flashes away, as the Ninken jumps up to try and take him down. More soon followed as Naruto was feeling like a cat in an Inuzuka family dog house. Guess you thought you could beat me with this? Naruto said, searching around for his sensei, hoping to find him before the dogs got to him. Seeing as how he couldn't evade him any longer, he bites his thumb, and does 5 seals. Kuchio's no Jutsu, he yelled, as a puff of smoke was brought forward, revealing a blue and yellow-bellied frog. Naruto was standing on top of him, then looks back at the dogs. As they try to bite him, the frog leaped into the air, allowing Naruto to put in enough chakra into his sword. Get Sugar Tenshu. he yelled, releasing a shockwave towards the ninja canines, puffing them out of existence. Naruto then saw kunai coming towards him, and blocked with the multiple strokes of his sword. Kakashi then appears behind him, 2 kunai in his hand. Naruto dispels the summoning jutsu, and the frog disappears. The smoke was enough for him to get past the knives Kakashi had, and come up behind him. Kuroi get sugar up on his chin. I think it's time you concede, Kakashi-san. You have until we land on that branch, savvy ? Naruto spoke, inciting victory. The Jonin only sighed, seeing as how he can't think of a way out of this, and how he forgot to use shadow clones in this situation. He nods yes, as they touch the branch below them with their feet. Naruto releases his sword, and sheathes it. Kakashi turns towards his student. I'm proud of you, Naruto. You truly have served me, maybe even your father if you can become Hokage. Sasuke would be glad. Naruto smiled, then hears the distinct noise of clapping. He turns around, and sees his friends all watching him. Tenten runs up and hugs him, then plants a kiss on his cheek. He could then sense the snickering from Kiba when that happened. He looked at the dog boy, then spots someone hiding behind him. Hey, why is Hinata hiding behind him ? He asked, pushing Kiba a bit to the side, and sees Hinata still blushing as she looks upon him. She walks away, confusing only Kiba and Tayuya. So what brings you guys here ? He asks. We just got back from a mission in Suna. We also met the Kazekage Gaara, and he seems to have a lot in common with you, besides the fact that you each had bad childhoods. Shino said. Naruto looks at him, and feels as though they know something. I have no idea what you mean. Naruto began, but Sakura cut him off. Don't fool yourself, Naruto. We all know about you, even Tayuya over there knows. None of us knew you had such a horrible childhood because of a demon inside of you. Gaara told us about it, and how you should have come with us. Naruto flinched again. You had a mission to help Gaara ? What happened ? He asked. Kakashi gave him a pat on the shoulder, and covered his Sharingan eye. Sit down. This is gonna be long. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.